place.
Yep.
Hey guys, you'll never imagine what I found. These old school Fab 5 shorts. We should wear these on game day. These things are awesome.
You can't go that old school for game day. You got to have something updated, like the Harbaugh khakis are the way to go.
Really? Dude, this is so 1992. Khakis.
Really?
Rookie.
J-Well, that was then. This is now. Hey, what's your deal?
What's your deal?
You've lost it.
Either you're for us or you're for us. Hail to Michigan.
You hear the strains of the a cappella fight song, Hail, Hail to Michigan, Hail to the victors. One of the great traditional stops in all of college sports, not just basketball, but with that tradition of maize and blue, there's a new color, khaki, as Michigan is embracing Jim Harbaugh and football is looking for a rebirth. Basketball has been more than conquering heroes, a Final Four in the Elite Eight in the last couple of years and in the Big Ten race now. But the number one team in the land follows us on College Game Day. Kentucky, 18-0, fourth best start in school history, taking on South Carolina, where in 2010, their 19-0 start came to a screeching halt.
Welcome to College Game Day, covered by State Farm.
A late January Saturday in Ann Arbor in the Big Ten, and what many believe is still the most significant regular season race in college basketball.
I got all the stuff in quick.
Michigan is in the middle of it.
Will take it quick.
Only a game behind in the loss column, behind Wisconsin and Indiana. The Badgers, the overwhelming favorite in the Big Ten, but tonight, Frank Kaminsky and company will get a test. Glad to have you with us in Ann Arbor.
All right, guys.
College Game Day's second
Chris will
trip
be able to get
here to A Squared. Reese Davis, Jay Williams, Seth Greenberg, and Jay Billis here. And it's a little bit of a different feel. There's an energy. Sometimes football and basketball can intertwine. There's been a little bit of energy around there.
Well, you can say there's a football school. This is both.
Yeah.
Basketball and football have been at a really high level. But when Jim Harbaugh was announced, everything shot way up. This place is really energized now.
I think athletic departments coexist. You don't have just a good football program and a good basketball program. You have a good athletic department, and there aren't a lot of athletic departments across the country better than Michigan's.
All I know is last week was crazy. Iowa State was crazy, and we challenged the Michigan fans to come out and support. And they were outside in the cold weather, and they came out to support. Okay.
It is a big football recruiting weekend for Michigan. It is a huge basketball Saturday night for John Beilein's crew. He's going to join us in a little while. There might possibly be a Harbaugh sighting later on in the show. And there is the curtain of distraction. We'll test the ability to focus of the four of us a little bit later on in the show. But on this Saturday, with only 2 games matching ranked opponents, predominant storyline of the weekend is Mike Krzyzewski. 1 win away from 1,000. Duke plays St. John's on Sunday.
Kentucky going to South Carolina, 18-0. South Carolina, a very good defensive team. Dwayne Notice and Sedarius Thornwell are going to have to play great.
The deepest conference in college basketball is the Big 12. There are 2 top 25 matchups, but the one I'm looking for is Kansas at Texas. Bill Self, 3-4 at Texas.
And North Carolina on a roll right now, winning a lot of their last games. Top rebounding team, one of the top rebounding teams in the nation.
Big Ten has struggled. Wisconsin's the only team to be ranked in the top 10 throughout the season. The Badgers find themselves there now at number 6. During the non-conference schedule, the Big Ten had some embarrassing losses. Michigan lost here, back-to-back games to New Jersey Institute of Technology and their buddies from down the street in Ypsilanti. Eastern Michigan also beat them. Nebraska lost to Incarnate Word, which, contrary to popular opinion, is not what Billis believes happens every time he speaks.
Yes, it is.
And then Michigan State lost to Texas Southern. They probably cheer that one. And it brings to mind, look, the Big Ten, the last couple of years, has been strong. They had a team in the Final Four the last 2 years. 2 years ago, Michigan was in the national championship game, a game away from the Final Four. Almost had 3 teams in the Final Four last year. But the narrative always is, what about conference strength? What's the best way to evaluate how strong a conference is?
The number of really good teams that you have at the top. You're not defined by the teams that you have at the bottom. You're defined by the teams you have at the top. So the more good teams you've got, I think the better league you are overall. That doesn't mean you're the most competitive league, because otherwise, if everybody were the same, you had all 500 teams, then that's the most competitive league. Teams at the top define best league.
You know, the number of teams, to me, in my opinion, is if you have a 10-team league and 7 or 8 of them are in the top 50, there are no nights off in the Big 12. You've got to bring it each and every night. Your challenge, there are no rocking chair games. To me, you got to look at the depth of a league as well and the number of teams that they can put in the NCAA tournament. Because once you get in, who knows what could happen? Look what happened with Connecticut last year.
Didn't mean the American was the best conference, by the way,
exactly
because
right.
Connecticut won the
Well, let's talk about the reasons why we have all these debates. Number one, it makes great Twitter conversation. And number two...
Oh, that's good enough reason.
Well, it is. And it's for the fans. I mean, does it really matter which conference is the best conference? Does that really matter?
Helps in recruiting.
You know,
I think it matters.
Why?
Well, it doesn't matter. There's no banner for it. You don't get a national championship for it. But I think when the ACC or the Big Ten is the best league, I think it does help recruiting. It does help the perception of the league. And it does, I think it helps in the NCAA tournament selection room. I absolutely think it helps.
Well, the Big Ten was the best conference a couple of years ago, and look where the Big Ten's at now. And how about a crazy stat? I totally understand that. But, you know, we talk about the best conference. When's the last time they produced a national championship? It's only happened one time in the past 10 years.
Is that define a conference, just a national champion? You're talking about a conference, not a team.
I understand, but so what's the point of saying we're the best conference if we don't produce a national championship?
I'm going to show you guys some blind resumes. If you're wondering what the reaction is, some of the Michigan football recruits have just walked in, and so too as the head coach Jim Harbaugh. He's hiding over in the corner. There's some of the guys. I hope that's not an NCAA violation. I'm not sure how many of those guys are recruits.
That's the basketball team.
There's the basketball guys.
That's the basketball team.
Some football guys coming in too, don't we? Okay, I thought we had some recruits coming in too. We did see Harbaugh over in the corner. Let's look at the blind resumes here of a couple of the conferences. Now, these are not teams in the conference. The total conference itself. You see Conference B has more teams than the AP poll, same number of teams in the Basketball Power Index top 50. BPI has Conference A ranked a little bit ahead. Jay Will, which conference are you taking as the stronger one based on those numbers you see?
Based on those numbers, I'll probably take Conference A, just a 24 and 28 against BPI top 50.
Seth?
I would take probably. I'd go with A.
All right, 2A, Jay, can you tell? We got more games against the top 50.
B's got more, Conference B's got more teams in the top 50. I would take them.
Okay, let's see
or
what
top 25, I would take them.
Okay, here they are, the Big East. A little bit of an overlooked conference after reconfiguration and teams moving on, at least ahead of the Big Ten. In some eyes, 2 of the 3 of you. So it's an interesting topic, I think, because the bulk of your schedule ends up being against your conference opponents. But once you make it into the tournament, how strong your conference was doesn't necessarily have as big an impact on how you match up with the team you're bracketed with.
If you go with the BPI, all right, the Big 12 is the best conference in the country. The Big 12 has 1 team ranked in the top 13 in the BPI. All right, the ACC has 5 teams ranked in the top 13. West Virginia is ranked 14th in the BPI. They're the second highest ranked team in the Big 12. They would be 6th in the ACC. So how do you say, all right, well, wait a minute, you know, the Big 12 has got more balance. You know, they've got a lot of good teams. The ACC's got more really good teams than any league. So how do you say that? Do you say the ACC's better, or because they've got 15 teams, they get kind of punished because the teams at the bottom drag their overall rating down a little bit? To me, that's the question. That's the whole question.
So conference strength will be something over the last month and a half of the season. It will carry some weight in terms of evaluating who will eventually make the field of 68. There's no question Kentucky is going to be in the field, almost certain to be a #1 seed, at least based on the way the Wildcats have dominated things so far. Will that domination continue against South Carolina coming up in about 52.5 minutes? Devin Booker has been shooting it brilliantly from the three-point line.
Better make him dribble. Make him dribble, because he'll kill you.
Will the Gamecocks be able to do it? Frank Martin, get up in and put it on the floor. An amazing story of strength and perseverance. Michigan's Austin Hatch will join us, along with head coach John Beilein. Coach K's on the verge of history. You'll hear some Coach K stories perhaps you've never heard before from our guys, and we'll tell you how instrumental they've been. And look at Jim Harbaugh. At Kansas practice, he can knock down a half-court shot. Can he help our State Farm half-court shooter to win $18,000? All of that curtain of distraction as game day rolls on from Ann Arbor.
Alexander, 999 career wins for Mike Krzyzewski.
Wait a minute. Uptown, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up. Come on, dance, jump on it. If you've sunset and flown it. Saturday night, we in the spot. Don't believe
College Game Day is covered by State Farm. For auto, home, life, and banking, get to a better state. And in part by Lexus, the first ever Lexus NX Turbo. Go beyond utility.
Such rich history at Michigan and so many memorable moments. And that man, a member of this year's team, Austin Hatch, a freshman, authored one of the more poignant moments in Michigan history. It was an exhibition game against Wayne State. Austin Hatch made a free throw, much to the delight of his teammates and his head coach, John Beilein, and the receptive crowd here at Chrysler. The big hug, and you know, in a basketball context, that moment is not terribly uncommon. You have an underdog player who scraps and fights and gets his opportunity to have a moment of glory. But that's not Austin Hatch's story. That's not even close to the context of his story. He survived 2 plane crashes. The first one in 2003 killed his mother and his siblings. 8 years later, another plane crash took the life of his father and his stepmother and left him in jeopardy of not being able to play the game he loved anymore. So what could possibly drive someone in the face of such incomprehensible tragedy? A goal, a mission, a desire to come back? Whatever it was, Austin Hatch's parents wanted him to live the life of an uncommon man, and he's doing that.
It's unbelievable to be here. After all that I've been through, to be able to finally make it to Michigan, put on that jersey, really is a dream come true.
For 20-year-old Austin Hatch, Chrysler Center at the University of Michigan has been a yearned-for destination. Not a finish line, a kind of promised land, reached only after a journey of biblical proportions.
Cleared flight level 220. 911, a plane just crashed.
And all of a sudden, big boom.
8 years later. Oh gosh, it is unbelievable.
When you're millimeters away from death, you look at life through a different lens.
He is a walking miracle.
Let's just say that the situation didn't look good. But here we are.
Hatch on the right side. Gave up the dribble, had it knocked loose, and a foul called. Although will give Austin Hatch a chance to go to the free throw line. Bends the knee, on its way. What a moment for Austin Hatch. John Beilein gives him a big hug.
What he's gone through so far is miraculous. He said to me, Coach, the way I look at it, I've been so blessed through life. I've only had 2 really bad days in my life.
The entire Austin Hatch story, part of SportsCenter featured Miraculous. You can see it on ESPNU, and we are more than pleased and honored to be joined by Austin Hatch and his head coach, John Beilein, now. And Austin, that's well-deserved. I mean, the strength and the dignity and grace it takes to come out here and sit and talk with us about this and to watch those moments. From a basketball standpoint, what has the journey to return and to be able to play here at Michigan been like for you?
Well, you know, it gave me something to shoot for. You know, from the time that I was I was in a hospital bed before I relearned how to walk. I told people, I said, I'm going to play for Michigan. You know, you may not think so. It doesn't look good right now, but I'm going to find a way. And, you know, it gave me something, gave me a goal. And I think that's important to have in life. You have to know where you are. You have to know where you're going. And you have to have goals. Because that gives you things to work for. And so, I mean, if you don't have goals, then why do you wake up in the morning? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it just playing here gave me a goal, and I had something to shoot for. And it didn't look good for a while. The odds weren't really in my favor, you could say, but I mean, here we are.
John, what's watching Austin do this? And we understand relatively the significance is not anything compared to what he's been through, but the significance from watching what he's been able to accomplish up to this point.
I think the big thing is he gives the whole team strength all the time. Then whenever we're watching him, and he's very limited with what he can do in practice, but when he is able to get in practice, you know, he actually likes it when I yell at him a little bit. When he misses a shot, he actually says, yeah, Coach, bring that to me, right? So he is really an inspiration, really, to all of us and been a blessing to us thus far and will be during his time here at Michigan. I know we'll continue. We all grow because of Austin.
Austin, let me first off just shake your hand, man.
Thank you, man.
You know, a lot of people talk about being an inspiration. You are purely an inspiration. How have your brothers, and what I mean by brothers, your brothers on the basketball team, how have they helped you through all this time?
Well, you know, I mean, as you said, they really are my brothers. And, you know, the guys that you put in long hours with, late at night, early in the morning, those guys, you really have a close bond with them, as I'm sure you're well aware, you know, playing at Duke a while back. And it just, you just grow together, you suffer together, you know, you put in the long hours, and you really go close. And they've really all embraced me here. Obviously, as Coach said, I'm limited in what I can do on the basketball court at this point. But I'm just doing everything I can to help the team, and I know all my teammates appreciate that.
And how's your relationship with Coach Beilein blossomed?
It's amazing. It really is. You know, obviously he's a great coach, but you know, I would say he's 10 times the man that he is a basketball coach, and he's obviously a great coach. So that gives you, for those of you who don't know him personally, that gives you an idea as to the kind of man he is, and to me and all my brothers as well.
What's it like to hear Austin say that about you, John?
That's a bad question to ask me right now. I know it's really rewarding, because I know, we spoke yesterday, this is why the coaches really coach. So many guys get into this, Jim Harbaugh included, right? Get into this because we want to mentor, we want to coach, we want to watch young men grow, and this is just I'm a part of a miracle right now. And so when you have that opportunity, you say, wow, I didn't know I was getting into this. So it's really special to have him around and have the teammates that he has.
Austin, we're so proud of you. You're such an inspiration, and I know you're setting new goals every day, and I hope you reach every one of them, man. Thanks for being with us.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Austin has it
Thank you.
tonight, by the way.
Thank you.
Wisconsin, John Beilein and Austin Hatch joining us on College Game Day. Still to come, the curtain of distraction, and we're working our way toward #1 Kentucky taking on South Carolina at the top of the hour. What a moment, Austin Hatch.
Great job, man.
You're watching College Game Day, covered by State Farm.
More than 40 years ago, long before Mike Krzyzewski became known as Coach K, he recorded win #1 at his alma mater, Army. Win number 74 was his first ever as Duke's new coach, where his starting salary was $40,000. Meanwhile, in the basketball miracle category, win number 303 was against UConn. Number 335 was against supposedly unbeatable UNLV. And number 368 was, well, you know this one.
There's Leitner. He turns, he shoots, it is good!
Win number 370 came against the Fab Five and gave Duke a championship two-peat. While win number 868 gave Coach K his 4th national title and broke Butler's heart doing it. History and symmetry combined on win number 903, when Krzyzewski passed his mentor Bob Knight on the all-time victories list. After all, it was Knight who recommended him to Duke.
And on that same floor where Coach K passed Bob Knight. Perhaps it will be against St. John's on Sunday, in which Mike Krzyzewski gets his 1,000th victory. You see the resume: 4 national titles, 11 trips to the Final Four, numerous ACC titles, 12 times he has been National Coach of the Year. And as we approach this milestone of 1,000, it's worth pointing out that here on this set, Jay Billis played for Coach K, responsible with his team for 95 wins. When Jay Williams played for Coach K, responsible for 95 wins. Toss in 11 losses from you, and I've got 20% of Coach K's victory total right here sitting on the desk. But I would say that
I am shocked it was only 11.
It's only 11.
I thought it was way more than that.
I'm gonna, you know what though, Seth? Because look, Seth could coach, and if you hadn't beaten him 3 times, we'd already be past 1,000. We'd have to have a different segment on the show. How about that?
I like that one.
The 1,000. What's the significance of that milestone number?
It's sustained excellence. I mean, it's not like he's been winning, 19 games and he's just coached for a million years. He's coached for a long time, but the sustained excellence over time, I'm not sure has been matched by any coach in the history of this game. And, number of championships, Wooden's got 10, Rupp's got 5, he's got 4. But the winning that he's done at that high of a level over that period of time to extend it that long, and he's better now than he used to be. Now, how many guys can say that toward the end of their careers, they're not only better coaches, but their results are just as good, if not better, than throughout the course of their careers? It's remarkable. It's absolutely
How about
remarkable.
53 coaches have coached in the ACC since Coach K has been at Duke? I mean, that's pretty crazy if you think about it, and I was obviously one of the casualties. But when I think of Coach K, I think of a couple things. I think of 34 years at Duke, but he's a guy that has been able to reinvent himself. I mean, he came as some quote-unquote motion coach. Then he went to spacing. He was versatile and flexible enough to win his last 2 games playing 2-3 zone. But the one thing to me that has always defined Duke basketball under Coach K is how hard they compete. They would draw a line in the sand each and every play. And if you didn't match their intensity for 2 minutes, that's the time they put their arms around a game. They never lost a game they weren't supposed to lose. And the consistency of their effort, to me, is what makes Coach K so special. He's the greatest motivator maybe in the history of sport.
It's his mentality. His mentality is everything. And I think it's a trickle-down effect to the players, and to just not the players, but everybody at Duke University. And, a lot of players, they talk about, or the media, well, this team, they were the reigning champions last year, and teams still live in the past. He doesn't live in the past. Last year is last year. This is a new year. This is a different team. Last year's team had these players, and for him, a lot of players talk about, we're talking about, 1,000. I guarantee you he is not worried about 1,000. It's irrelevant to him.
Seth called it a great motivator, and I think a lot of people think, he's written all these great books on motivational strategies. He would go outside the box to motivate you guys a little bit, wouldn't he? Give me your best Coach K motivational story.
It was my senior night. We were playing against North Carolina, and I had 30 points, and I had no idea I had 30 points in the ball game. And there was about 6 or 7 minutes left to go in the game. And we're discussing an out-of-bounds play, and as we're leaving, he grabs me by the shirt, and he says, "Are you just going to settle for 30 tonight?" And I said, "What? Are you just going to settle for 30 tonight? Are you going to go for 50? I dare you to be great." I mean, and that's just something within the context of the game. You know what I mean? But that's him not allowing me to turn that switch off, me keeping my foot on the gas, and I think that's what he's great at doing.
You've got to know him, obviously, from a couple of different perspectives, as a recruit, as a player, and then in coaching for him, and now as a friend. How has that relationship changed? What's an example of how the relationship has evolved over the years?
When you're playing for him, you're in one part afraid of him, and in one part you always want to please him to make sure that you have his approval. I'm not sure that ever necessarily goes away. That you're always kind of seeking his approval. I don't think I'll ever be able to call him like, "Hey, Mike, what's going on, Mike?" Like he'll always be Coach K to me, and I don't know if that could ever change. But he's always there. If you pick up the phone and call him for advice, he'll always give it to you, and he's great with that. But he never tells you what to do. Like, I don't know, there's never been a time he's told me what to do. But he always gets you to ask the right questions to yourself. I'll tell you, in my professional life, when I got into broadcasting, he gave me some really good advice. He said, "Don't ever pull any punches with Duke." He goes, if we're good, say so. If we're not good, say so. But he says, if you are some homer, nobody will ever trust anything you say. And that kind of freed me up. That way I wasn't worried about maybe what somebody thought. You start thinking on your own about what's the right thing to say rather than, well how's this going to be received? And that was really important for me.
So Coach K and Duke going for victory number 1,000 on Sunday against St. John's. And this is where we're supposed to reveal the place where game day is going to go next. But it's no big surprise, apparently, that we're going to Charlottesville to see Duke next week take on Virginia. It would be a surprise if somebody...
Turnovers happen every once in a while. You got to bounce back.
Well, but if you want everybody to know something, tell Jay Will a secret.
So just tell me something different.
Okay, I'm telling you now.
Gonna pump fake people.
You got an assist from Adnan Vert, too. Adnan, you're not off the hook either. But we're going to Charlottesville next week to see Duke take on Virginia. And by the way, student section, the Who Crew at Virginia, the Naismith Student Section of the Year award winners. What do you think about that, Michigan? They don't agree. Could see it next week. It's time now for the Wendy's Wouldn't Watch. And one of the guys on that list is a guy who stuck around at Kentucky a little bit longer than people might have thought. Willie Cauley-Stein, defensive presence for sure, top 5 in Kentucky history in blocked shots, but recently conference play, the shooting in the paint's been off a little bit, down about 20%. Down to about 46% in conference play. See if he can get it going against South Carolina. And you can also bark at Billis. Use that hashtag starting at 1 o'clock Eastern time. Kentucky's undefeated. One of 2 undefeated teams in the country, along with Virginia, who we'll see next week. BPI saying there's a 45% chance the Cats go undefeated. You see some of the other criteria there. Seth, if you're looking at this Kentucky team putting together a blueprint, how can any of these teams on their schedule now in the SEC beat Kentucky?
To beat Kentucky, I think you got to control the tempo and the rhythm of the game. And what I mean by that is you can control the tempo of the game with your offense. But you control the rhythm of the game with your defense, whether it's changing defenses, playing a pack line defense, but you got to control the tempo and the rhythm of the game. I think the second thing you got to do is you got to be able to rebound the basketball on both ends, not just on the defensive end, where, let's think about this, Kentucky rebounds 44% of their missed shots. I mean, they're laying that thing right back in. So you've got to block them out, but you've also got to be able to get to the offensive glass. They struggle on the defensive glass. The last thing I think you got to do, you got to be able to drive the basketball, but not to get to the rim because they block 1 out of every 5 shots. They got 21 feet of post player. What you got to do is drive it to kick it and make an extra pass and then knock down the 3. And when I think of those type of things, I think of the place we're going next week, the University of Virginia. Pack line defense controls the rhythm of the game. Tempo, they're one of the slowest teams in the country. They control the tempo of the game. They're a terrific rebounding team. They're pretty good. So
I can boil that down into a couple of different phrases. Either perfect game or no chance. One of the two. But you think that even if Kentucky plays its best, there are a handful of teams that can stand in there with them. You're not necessarily ordaining them as untouchable. Even with their A game.
They're not untouchable. Like, I don't think Kentucky's going to go undefeated. I mean, I think they're going to get beat in the regular season, but they have the best chance to go undefeated between them and Virginia. I do think they're the best team, but they're not the best offensive team. There are a bunch of teams that score easier than they do. They actually shoot the ball better from 3 than they do from 2. They're a better three-point shooting team they get credit from. If you can make them take contested 2s and contested jump shots, I think you got a pretty good opportunity. A lot of the offensive rebounds that Kentucky's giving up are off long jump shots. You know, they're forcing long shots and long rebounds. The teams that can give them the hardest time, I agree. I would put Virginia #1 because of their ability to defend. Virginia is really athletic. They're really athletic. People don't understand how big they are on the wings with Malcolm Brogdon and Justin Anderson. The other team would be Wisconsin because they've got bigs that can pull them out on the floor. Wisconsin doesn't turn it over, and they do a great job of not fouling and not putting you at the free throw line. So I think Wisconsin is another. With their big guys playing out on the perimeter, that would give Kentucky a really hard time. And then Gonzaga is another one.
All right, we're going to see Wisconsin tonight. That's one of the teams. You've got a one-shot deal. One team that you're going to take to give them the best shot to beat Kentucky. Who's that one team?
I'm going to where we were last week. I'm going to Iowa State. I love the way they spread the floor. I love the way they attack offensively. And you talk about having teams who have shooters. I mean, Iowa State has shooters, and they also have a power forward in George Niang that can invert their offense. Now, I think they can have a difficult time rebounding, but I think if they can keep the pace of the game at a quick pace and try to outrun Kentucky, I think Iowa State has the shooters to do so.
I think you're on the money with Gonzaga. I mean, we don't talk about Gonzaga right now because they're in league play, so they're kind of off the beaten path. They're going to run the table. They're going to end up with one loss at Arizona, a game they could have won, but they got senior guards. All right, guards that make shots. Pangos and Bell are really, really good. And they've got depth up front and size up front. They make shots. They can rebound the ball. They can change their defenses. And more importantly, they're efficient offensively, and they're better defensively this year.
They are. I think this is Gonzaga's best team, but their guards are small, and they've got Sabonis is a great rebounder. I'm not sure they're a great rebounding team, at least as far as Kentucky's concerned. The two teams, I mean, I really believe Wisconsin, Virginia. If I had one team, I'd take Virginia. I think Virginia is better than they were last year, and they were really good. They were #1 seed last year. Who would have thought that you lose Joe Harris and Akil Mitchell and you're better? But the returnees have got, Justin Anderson's a lot better than he was. He's shooting 52% from three. Lockdown defender. Brogdon is better than last year, even though his numbers aren't better. And London Parentes is better than last year. And he does what the situation calls for. When they needed him to score at Miami, when they won in double overtime, he had 26. And he went shot for shot with Angel Rodriguez. And actually, I thought bested Rodriguez on his home floor. When if he doesn't do that, they lose. I mean, he's a really good point guard, one of the best in the country.
So all of those teams, in theory, would get a shot at Kentucky in the NCAA tournament. South Carolina has a shot at them coming up top of the hour. 2010, it was the Gamecocks who took down the undefeated Cats when they were led by Wall and Cousins and Bledsoe, and now Aaron Harrison will try to keep the Cats perfect against South Carolina. Time for the off-court assist, brought to you by State Farm. Jay Will.
Last week, State Farm challenged students at University of Michigan to show us how they helped during their hashtag off-court assist giveaway. And Megan Johnson and the women of the Phi Beta Phi stepped up in doing so. They are the winners, and they get $5,000. Hey, UVA, you are up next. You are on the clock. Make sure to visit State Farm's Facebook page for more information.
Wendy's Wooden Watch is brought to you by Wendy's, proud sponsor of the 2015 John R. Wooden Men's Player of the Year Award.
Bobby, the bus driver, rolling the College Game Day State Farm bus into Ann Arbor. It's time to take a look at the Cheez-It Real fans, and there are plenty of them. Some of them spoofing Bo Ryan of Wisconsin here in Chrysler, as Michigan and Wisconsin will play tonight. With all due respect to this great student section and all the other ones, Arizona State has taken the lead in terms of creativity. The curtain of distraction at Arizona State has rattled opposing free throw shooters, and that's been part of the game since shortly after Naismith put up the first peach basket, or at least it should have been part of it. Let's take a look at what the Sun Devil crowd's doing.
My favorite one was the wrecking ball.
The unicorn love story. We do Richard Simmons outfits. The curtain of distraction is the single greatest free throw distracting device of all time. You're not even sure if someone's going to be clothed.
There's some distractions going on now. That's a visual I kind of want to get out of my head.
The curtain of distraction is something that our students came up with 2 summers ago. Opposing teams were shooting 75% into the student section, which we really took as an embarrassment to us. And so our students came up with the curtain of distraction, and sort of the rest is history.
The goal is to make sure we have the best free throw percentage defense in the country.
Since the curtain of distraction has come out, they are 1 for 3. And 1 for 4.
In the first half, teams are shooting in the 70s. When they go to the second half and shoot towards the student section and the curtain distraction, they shoot high 50s, low 60s.
We figure that it's good for about 2.5 points per game, so hopefully we figure that also then helps win games for us.
I dress up in my old lady outfit.
Favorite one is we have a kayak.
There's
our curtain of distraction. Little Santa and his elf, and it worked.
When the curtain of distraction is facing you and you're at the foul line, it could really have its own mojo.
I can definitely see some free throw shooters looking at us in the corner of the eyes, and those are the guys I know that are going to miss it.
That's the most satisfying feeling. If he misses it and looks at us like, what am I doing out here? That is the coup de grace of the curtain of distraction.
I'm now frightened to find out what is going to be behind our curtain of distraction. Now, I'm going to tell you, full television disclosure here. We have no idea what they have back there for us. Our powers of focus and concentration are going to be put to the test. So we're going to have a discussion about distractions, and you try to avoid the distraction there, okay? A little game. You are the one. You and I have had this conversation before. Fans part of the game, or are they not part of the game? You heard the numbers in the piece. 71% the opposite end, 60% into the curtain. Good for 2.5 points a game. If you have something like that, are fans then part of the game?
No.
Why not?
I mean, fans are never part of they're part of the atmosphere around the game.
But it affects the game, right?
Well, a lot of things can affect the game. The lighting can affect the game, or the net that you put on the basket can affect the game, but it's not part of the game.
Seth, you failed already. You've been distracted.
Done.
I agree with Jay.
Seth is distracted by shiny objects. You don't need that.
He shouldn't look in the mirror or in your head either. Or yours.
All three of us, exactly.
Or my toupee.
I don't even want to go there. I agree. The things that happen during in the arena are part of the atmosphere, but the atmosphere, especially in certain environments, can affect players because they can get kind of caught up in it. Like when you went to Duke, to me it was funny. So like when you would walk in, I'd like to go out and watch warm-ups because I wanted to hear what they had to say. Like Terry Holland used to fake them out. He used to stand up, then sit down, stand up and sit down and get them to react to him. He did it so they would stay away from the players.
It was fun. Like, those things are funny. Like, when I was playing, we went to play at St. Louis in the Kiel Center, and they had the San Diego Chicken in there. Well, I think we were ranked in the top 5 or something. So San Diego Chicken comes in, and you're shooting a free throw, and he would walk around, you know, pretending not to notice, and then he'd hold up a poster of a woman in a bikini while you were shooting. And it was funny. I don't think it affected the way we shot, because we beat the crap out of them. But it was still funny.
Do you remember what you hit from the free throw line that night?
I scored 19 points, I know that.
Ah, yeah, he did.
That was a Jay Williams type comment.
The Bull, our researcher, I was really hopeful that we had some problems from the free throw line. I'm gonna give it to Jay. 7 of 8.
Oh, wow.
Free throw line.
Boom.
Right on it.
There it is, JB.
I want to know what that lady
That
on
was
the
a horrible free throw shooter,
I want to say, I want to see what the lady on the poster looked like on the one you missed.
By the way, I haven't been distracted by this nonsense one time. Laser.
I loved it.
Coach K stuff.
I loved it. I mean, I think fans do
This
play a
guy
part
might
of the
set
game.
us on fire, though. That would be different.
I think fans do play a part in the game because I like to interact with them. I mean, that stuff, that would be an enhancer for me. I mean, that only motivated
That
me.
motivated
oh, yeah, I loved it. I loved it. I just used it. I just took it all in, stored it, and just channeled it.
So you used the distraction to create a cause.
Exactly, 100%.
Now, Coach K, would he try to create causes and then all of a sudden it become a reality because you got some guy twirling around some fire?
The only reason I know that was fire over there because I felt the heat.
Yeah, you can feel the. I want to. Is the guy going to swallow the fire now? Or not?
RD putting him on the spot to swallow the fire.
Distracted. I thought he was a pro.
RD, there are some places.
The fire was more interesting than what you guys are talking about.
The old days Cole Fieldhouse. That place was pretty crazy.
Well, it was distracting just in the old Cole Fieldhouse in the locker room. It seemed like they would turn the heat up. I thought they turned the heat up in there. So it was hotter than all get out in there. And you go out in the crowd, and it was really difficult to play. But it was difficult because the teams were good. That's what made the plays tough.
That's a distraction.
And it appears that the crowd has been distracted
for him.
Us as Jim Harbaugh has walked out. The curtain of distraction. Don't know if it's quite as effective as Arizona State against my trained professionals. Harbaugh's going to do some coaching when you come back.
She's It Real Fans is brought to you by She's It. At She's It, real fans and real cheese matter. College Game Day is covered by State Farm. For auto, home, life, and banking, get to a better state.
There's a slate of games we have on this Saturday in college basketball. The headline games, Kentucky and South Carolina coming up shortly. Wisconsin and Michigan at 7 o'clock Eastern time. Jay Billis over with Jim Harbaugh. Hey, Jay.
Reese, not a lot of people know this, but Jim Harbaugh was an outstanding basketball player in high school at Palo Alto High School when his dad, Jack Harbaugh, was coaching at Stanford. He actually played with two former ESPN anchors, Dave Feldman and Bill Pito, and you had to carry them. You must have been a hell of a player to carry those two schleps.
They're very good. They should have got the ball more. They should have got more shots.
How good of a high school basketball player were you?
Probably average.
Average, come on. What'd you average?
19.8 points a game.
That is not.
Not that I was.
Not that you're counting how many shots you take a game.
A lot. Before the three-point line.
Now, do you think your coaching prowess in football can translate to basketball? They say the great coaches can coach anything. Can you coach basketball?
I thought I could, but I went to an Indiana game last year, sat on the bench. And my nephew Riley Crean knew a lot more about basketball than I did. So
well, you think you can coach
football?
You think you can coach the State Farm shooter?
I've had some experience at that.
Okay, you did hit a half-court shot at Kansas last year, right?
Yeah, Jay, here that shot is. Here is the shot that Harbaugh hit at Kansas last year from the half court.
Michael.
We'll introduce you to the shooter in a second. Here's the flashback. March 5th, 2014, and Jim reined it in. So watch Jim Harbaugh and learn. Michael Shapiro is shooting for $18,000. This is Matt Fahone from State Farm, the $18,000 representing the 18,000 State Farm agents across North America. Jim, you want to give him a little coaching?
Yeah, Michael, what's your plan?
Not bank.
Don't bank it straight in? How are you going to get enough on it? Make sure you get enough on it. You got to get it there. So you're not going to go like, you're going to go.
One step shot.
Show me what you got.
All right, let's go. Matt, give him the basketball and let's take the shot. All right, 18 seconds, as many shots as you can get up.
Whoa.
Here we go. Come on, man, come on. Jim, feed him. Feed him, Jim.
Hands on. Oh, that's.
Get him.
Don't watch the shot. Don't watch the shot.
Feed him. Here, not that one, not that one.
Don't watch it.
Oh, one more.
Come on, one more.
Didn't quite make it. Jim, this is going to have to come out of your pocket if you make this. Michael, good run at it. $1,800 is consolation prize.
Don't watch the ball. As soon as you shoot it, go get another one.
Boy, that one is close. I love Harbaugh is still coaching it right there. He said, don't watch the shot. Go get another one.
Let's have Jim.
Hey, Jim. Jim.
Take one, Jim.
Take one, Jim.
Get in there, Jim. Get in there.
Get in. One more. Harbaugh! Yes! Oh! So close. We've got Kentucky coming up top of the hour. Willie Cauley-Stein's a Wooden Award midseason top 25, about 5 minutes away from the start of Kentucky and South Carolina. It is time for our Buick Saturday selections, and let's start with the Wildcats in South Carolina.
South Carolina's a good team with Dwayne Notice, but it's hard to go against Kentucky right now with their size and their length, plus considering what happened last year.
UK takes care of business on the road at South Carolina.
South Carolina's 1-4, and they've shot the ball under 40% in conference play. I don't think they're going to beat Kentucky. Kentucky wins.
How about Kansas and Texas?
I'm going with Texas. Texas is on a roll right now. Kansas coming off that difficult home win against Oklahoma.
Bill Self, 3-4 against Texas at Texas. Texas rebounds, they defend. I'm going with the Longhorns.
You know what? I like Kansas in this one. Kelly Oubre has done a great job. He's really matured as a player and has become one of the best freshmen in the country. I'm going with Kansas on the road.
And going Kentucky and Virginia have been better than Texas in field goal percentage defense. What can they do with Kansas? That's one of the ranked matchups. The other one also in the Big 12, Oklahoma-Baylor.
Oklahoma has been struggling lately. I like Baylor. I like Kenny Cherry at home.
I think that 1-1 free zone takes him out of transition, gets the shooters. I'm going to go with Baylor.
Buddy Hield, man. Buddy Hield is shooting the lights out. I'm going with Oklahoma.
You know, he leads the nation in transition points, nearly 8 points per game that he scores in transition. Now, our game tonight will be at 7 o'clock Eastern time, a little bit earlier than normal. Michigan and Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin is the preseason favorite, the only team in the Big Ten that's been in the top 10 all year long. But Michigan, despite all the struggles, right in the middle of this thing right now. You're going to call the game. What are some keys you're watching for tonight?
I think Michigan has got to do a really good job on the defensive end, especially blockouts. They have got to keep Wisconsin from getting second shots. This is a game that they've got to control the tempo of. You know, Michigan, even though they haven't shot the ball as well as they're capable, and Karis LeVert is out, they're still a good team. They're 5-2. So they've got to keep this game close. And if you let them out in transition, which Wisconsin's a better transition team than people think, and if they get some second shots, then it's going to be all over.
Wisconsin plays much faster than people realize right now. They're scoring in the mid-70s, and defensively, they're hard to score against. Michigan, they cannot foul because Wisconsin's not going to foul, and Michigan cannot turn it over because Wisconsin's not going to turn it over. They have no matchup for Frank Kaminsky.
You and I saw Frank Kaminsky a couple of weeks ago. He does a lot of remarkable things. It's going to be tough for Michigan to handle him.
Yeah, it's going to be a mentality for Michigan. If I'm Michigan, I'm coming into this ball game shooting every bullet in my gun. I mean, everybody's going against Michigan in this game. I think Michigan just has to play with a freeless type atmosphere, mentality, and just let it ride. And also Wisconsin, are they going to control the tempo of the ball game and give the ball down low due to the lack of a front line that Michigan has? Frank Kaminsky, Sam Decker, Nigel Jays could be a handful down low for the Wolverines.
So this is a game that really can determine the course of Michigan's season in a lot of ways. You lose to New Jersey Institute of Technology. You lose to Eastern Michigan. You're sitting here at 12-7, and boo, they say. But now everything's all turned around if you can just get the win tonight. Not going to let Billis pick it because he's calling the game. No calls for favoritism. Who wins the game tonight, Wisconsin or Michigan, Seth?
You know, College Game Day's here in Ann Arbor, and there's something special about College Game Day in Ann Arbor. I've experienced it at Virginia Tech. It's unbelievable. It raises your level of play. You know what? On Wisconsin.
You know, Jalen Rose has been, calling me all the time, and there's so much something about, but I can't do it. I can't do it. I got to go with the Badgers. I got to go with Wisconsin. We'll get this tape off me. Wisconsin. Wisconsin, I'm sorry.
Kentucky and South Carolina coming up.